All right, welcome everybody to this week's showing of the Hometown Heroes class here at Lanes Raceway. Since the last race, we've caught quite a few more people into the live stream here, as we're going to have 9 people in this race. The drag strip is shut down during this race as it is on the green track. So if you're looking to come test tune drag cars today, right now definitely not a good time to come, as they're going to be running 9 vigorous heats. Bo McPherson now on deck right now. Gabriel Kirtley on red lane, Jay Latham on white, Gunnar Vender on green, Gerald Whitaker on orange, Nathaniel Burden on blue, Guillermo Sire on yellow, Jeremiah on purple, and Glenn Burden on black. All right, guys, looks like everybody's got their stuff set up, situated. These guys have been stamped. Their chassis are stamped. Their motors are stamped. If they do not have these stamps at the end of the race, they are disqualified. There is no restamping in this one. Of course, we shouldn't need to be restamped anyway. I think everything will be on the up and up, and everything should be good. There are a few people there that are stamped different than other people. But nonetheless, that's for my knowledge and not everybody else's, so there can't be any counterfeiting or anything like that. These motors have all checked out to be 0.8 or above, and we should have a really close race just like last week. Racers, are you ready? Watch your lights. Still the 3-strike and you're out program here. So stay tuned as we got some good racing coming for you here. As you can see, full red lights are dropping out to green, and we got a stalled car on purple as he sends it, and we're going to get our first yellow flag here. Jeremiah's first time here on the track, to be expected here, as he's going to try his best to get started here. It's always rough for the very beginning for people to get started here, but always good to get started. Purple, white, looks like are getting strikes here. Purple and white right now getting strikes. We might have to come back and get another strike here. Chat is currently live if you want to ask questions about what's going on here. And the braid has been freshly rolled down here on the oval. T checked it earlier, said there wasn't no issues with the cars and stuff. As we see Jeremiah taking off there on purple, we get a car coming off through the crook of the track there. Bo McPherson, of course, he's on the out right now, so he's going to be track marshaling for the guys. And we're going to see another strike here as it comes off in the crook of the track. And that's going to be on White Lane. White Lane's going to receive their second strike here. Now, that's Jay Latham's second. He may have some issues there with that car. That's yet to be determined. But just like on the other tracks, if you do have an issue, it might be best just hit that button, see if you can diagnose it real quick. 120 seconds, what you get 2 times per race. But a lot of guys save it for when they get a stripped gear or blown motor or something like that. Now, of course, if that happens, they all have to be checked out. You can't just throw a new motor in without being checked out at the door. We kind of hold these classes very, very close, and that's why we can get these laps like we are without having to run breakouts and stuff like that. 13-13 is the top 2. 12-12 is 3 and 4. 11, 5th, 10th, 6th. Is what we're looking like right now, just laps, and already run 30 laps here. So we're going to see some cars coming back to the start finish, and it looks like Black Lane's going to get a strike. Purple's getting their second. Blue and orange, and green. Blue, orange, green. Man, that was a big one. So blue, orange, and green with their first strikes. As you can see, it does get a little bit more hectic here on the oval track. But once they get their rhythm about them, things tend to get a little bit better. Of course, we do got some new racers here. Gerald, of course, he's been running the Rookie Series race too, so he's jumping in this race too to get a little involved in the Pro Series here. But we've had some very, very close racing. 929 gear ratio in the back. Stomp motor is what the guys are running. As we get a yellow flag here, Guillermo Sire quick on the button there, so it's probably Guillermo going to receive a strike here. Guillermo there, of course, on yellow lane, going to receive his first strike here. So the only one with not a strike right now is Gabriel Kirtley up on the red lane, and he was worried about that red lane whenever we were doing the tech process. He's like, man, of course I get red lane. So, you know, sometimes you may think something bad's happening, but actually it might work out for your favor. You might actually be pretty decent shape. And in this case, it's working out pretty good for Gabriel Kirtley. Of course, Gabriel Kirtley here been working on his cars the past couple weeks. He's definitely been getting them in tune and running quite well. Of course, coming off of a fresh podium in the previous race, I believe. So we got two cars coming off in the crook of the track here. Bo McPherson, of course, grabbing those in the tri-oval portion of the track. And that's going to be a strike there for yellow. They're second. And a strike for black. They're second. So right now, as it is currently here on the oval, we got Guillermo Sire with 2 strikes, Jeremiah with 2 strikes, Glenn Burden with 2 strikes, and Jay Latham with 2 strikes. Everybody else has at least 1 or less. 4 red lights are dropping out to green. Here we go. 2.061 is the time best lap to beat. And that's on blue lane for Nathaniel Burden. We got some nice smooth movements going on here right now as we get our flag call on the play. Let's see what we got here. Somebody's coming off here, I believe. That looks to be Nathaniel Burden. Nathaniel Burden calling red flag button. So Nathaniel's going to take one of his red flags here. And that's going to be his second strike. He has 16 seconds left in the heat here. He's going to try to fix his car up here. Put some tape on it. Evidently has some body wobble going on. You see him there in the upper left-hand portion just behind Bo McPherson with the green hat. He's there getting some body tape put on. KRD Race Car Design says, we are back. LOL. Yeah, we're in our Hometown Heroes class, which is the dirt modified class here at Lanes Raceway Slot Car Track on the oval. This is a Tunkel track. We got it out of Fairview, Tennessee a couple years back before we opened. 10 seconds left to go, and we got some pretty close battling here in the first heat from top to bottom. Really about 10 laps is what separates all these racers. And they are at varying skill levels for sure. But these cars have been teched. They have resistance techs on them. They have all the motors stamped to different color. And their chassis too. So there's no swap in chassis, no swap in motors during this race. And it does keep it quite tight. As you can see, Nathaniel Burden there in first, tied with Guillermo Sire, 54 laps. Third place, 53, is Glenn Burden. Fourth place, 52, is Gunnar Vender. Fifth place, Gabriel Kirtley with 50. 48 for Jay, 45 for Jeremiah, and 42 for Gerald after we run our first race. Now, after this, Bo McPherson's going to come in. Of course, now with 0 laps, he was track marshaling in the previous heat. He's going to come in after this, and we'll see how well he does on red lane. Speaking of red lane, Gabriel Kirtley was able to turn 50 laps on red lane, so we'll see if that's a good benchmark number for red lane. If it is, then we can see if Bo is on the right progression here. Now, Bo used to race back in the day whenever we had just our standard FCR class here, which is kind of basically this class here, except they were running Lexan Parma bodies, like NASCAR style bodies, versus what they're running here is caveman bodies that look like the open wheel modifieds. Now, during this race, too, like I said, the drag strip is shut down anytime there's a race on the orange or the green track. So really just Sundays are not a good day to come test and tune until later in the evening for drag racing, because later in the evening usually we run the blue track. But you can always check our schedule out on Facebook, and when you get on Facebook and look, you can see where we're racing first and what times and stuff like that on Sunday. So if you are planning to come and test and tune on the drag strip, of course you would want to make your time applicable to that. As the same thing goes too on our new installed RC track. So coming up, I think not after next race, but the race after that, towards later in the evening, we're going to be on the blue track. So when they're on the blue track, which is right behind Tim here practicing with his 1RC cars, the 1RC track gets shut down to leave way for the series racers on the slot car oval stuff. And the same thing goes on like Tuesdays. So Tuesdays is our RC day, so you cannot run at all on the blue track on Tuesday. And on Thursdays and Fridays when we run our drag racing here at Lanes Raceway, you are not able to run on the orange or the green track. And it just lets everybody have enough room. Nobody gets upset or anything like that, and it works great. So we see Jonathan, 1985 Hal, says, hello, Lanes Raceway. Hello, Jonathan. 54 seconds, and we'll be back racing. We can already see some of these racers already lined up, ready to go. Like I said, their chassis are stamped on the inside, and a lot of these guys have them with tape on the sides, taping them down. They have to have that stamp, and they have to have the stamp or stamps on their motor at the end of the race to be able to pass tech at the end. So at the end, we'll have one set out, and that set out, of course, will leave his car up on the glass, which every set out has to leave their cars on the glass. So right now, to be Jay Latham needs his car up on the glass. I can't tell from here if it is. I see something black over there, and he's got the Rum Runner car. And at the end of the race, there'll be one up there and 8 cars on the track. Me and the wife will come and get all 8 of those cars. We'll check our book and where we stamp the cars and what color. And if it matches up, then the guys are good. We don't have to do an end time tech, and boom, Bob's your uncle. We're heading on in, kind of lowering our tech process and everything. So that works out good. 4 red lights dropping out to green. Round robin 2 starting now. Nathaniel Burden, currently your leader, 55 laps, tied up with Guillermo Sire on the same lap as we round about this way. Now Nathaniel Burden down lower on the purple lane, going to be able to turn some quicker laps than Guillermo Sire currently there on orange lane. It's the difference between black lane and red lane is approximately 5 foot of braid different. So the red lane's definitely always going to be the slowest out of all of the racers. As we're going to see red lane here, Bo McPherson take his first strike here on red lane. 3 strikes, you're out. Just the same as before. Now that means you're out of the heat, not the whole race. We've had some confusion on that in the past. Last Wednesday, we actually had a guy come up and he was like, is it 3 strikes you're out for the whole race? No, that's not the case. Just for the heat. Heats are 2 minutes long, and you got to run 8 of them. So we see Jay Latham grabbing that car that come out there, and that's going to go on orange lane, which is Guillermo Sire going to take his strike. And it looks like we might have another one there. Let me transition back here and take a look. So it looks like blue lane also going to receive a strike here, and that's Gunnar Vender's first strike. Jay Latham over there. Nathaniel Burden right now turning a 2.043. Jeremiah there down on black lane. As we see a car flip upside down off black lane. Black lane tends to sometimes be faster than purple, but purple a lot of the times is quicker than black just because you get a little bit more cushion coming around dead man's corner there. What was that, black or purple? Let me see. It's black lane. Okay, black's going to get a strike. Sorry about that, folks. Let's put another yellow flag here. Jay Latham grabbing another car. You can see how this takes place here. Once, if people are having a lot of rough time out on the track and stuff like that, they get their 3 strikes pretty quick, and then it kind of, you know, works its way through. We're trying to get through 4 races on one day here because that's when everybody can cumulatively come together. And the only way to do that is you've got to cut down some of the track error time, or some of the time whenever the cars come off. Jonathan, 1985 House says roughly 45 to 50 minutes of excitement. I call it, at least when I'm racing my cars. And it is pretty close to that, the way it is right here. We have done live track before, and we've had done. Is White getting a strike? Okay, so purple will just receive a strike there. Okay. But yes, we've done live track before, and we've done where the marshal has the button, but then we've had issues where the guys are like, well, they're playing favoritism to this person or this person, and all this. So we had to fix that problem early on, and we did that with these track call buttons with a relay on it, and it's been working great since. We've even seen a few tracks adopt the same method there. So white and blue going to receive strikes here. That's white's first. Now that's blue's second, so that's 2 for Gunner and 2 for Bo so far here in this heat. So if they get one more, they'll be setting out for the remainder of the heat, not to come back next heat. And it's about halfway through the heat right now, so we'll see how things change. But we can see in first place by 2 laps Nathaniel Burden. Second place pretty much tied up with Glenn and Guillermo at 82. Third place there at 80 is Gunnar Vinder, and Gabriel tied pretty close to him, about 1 lap down. So our top 5 definitely battling for that first position there. Just about 6 laps difference separating all these guys. And every week's a little bit different. Last week it was very, very smooth. This week, not quite as smooth of a start, but not bad so far. We're going to see strikes there for yellow and black. You can almost place bets on all this, really. So black there has got 2. Jeremiah, that's his first time racing. If this was horse racing, he would definitely have the best odds, or the worst odds, but if you hit it, if he ends up winning it, you make the most. I don't know how to keep a book, so don't ask me about that. But nonetheless, you know, the strike thing does add an extra little bit of an element in it, especially if you're rooting for a certain person. What? Black will be his third. White will be 2. So that will be the third strike for black. So this will be Jeremiah's first time coming out. You know, he'll come back in next heat, but he has to set the remainder of the heat out after getting 3 strikes. This is our pro class here at Lanes Raceway. Our rookie classes and stuff, I let them have some leeway, whether they want to do that or not, because we don't actually lord over them on the rookie series, as we just want them to get better at racing, and we don't try to push them along as much, as they only run 1 race during the week here. So we're going to see a strike there on green, and another car being passed to Bo. So it looks like Bo McPherson's going to come out. That'll be Green's first strike, Gabriel Kirtley's first strike. And it looks like Bo McPherson's going to take his 3rd strike there on red. So Bo's coming out off the red lane. Now the track's dwindling a little bit more, and we're going to see some, probably a little bit more smoother racing taking place here as we see some of the 3 strikers go out. Next one possible we would more likely see would be blue lane, as it's already received 2 strikes. So it could just be an iteration of, you know, maybe early race jitters, then smoothing out as you get some of your rhythm for that lane. But then sometimes, a lot of the times, it's car trouble, whether it be bent from a wreck or something of that nature. But you can see how much it smooths out after you get a few of the guys that are having some trouble out of the way. You end up going right through a heat, and this progresses those heats a lot quicker. And this is what we got to have if we're going to try to turn 4 races in one day. We also opened up an hour or so earlier too. Now today my brother was of course in town, so we actually opened up even sooner than that. I think he opened the doors at 10:30. Nathaniel Burden out in the lead, 111 total laps, averaging 55.5, 107 for Guillermo Sire, 53.5. 105 tied up, Glenn Burden and Gunnar Vinder with 52.5. 102, Gabriel Kirtley there with 51 on average. Gerald Whitaker there with 84. 72 for Jeremiah. 48 for Jay Latham. And 29 for Bo McPherson. Going to take you guys over here to our main screen here. You're going to see our orange track here for a second. Livermore, Kentucky, 270-278-599, a sponsor of our Group 20 Wing Car Series here at Lanes Raceway. Get you a Subway sandwich over here right next door. Take the receipt from Lanes Raceway, get 10% off of that sub sandwich. Take their receipt, come back over here, get 10% off of one item up to $100. And Fairview IT Management. These are the guys that make this live stream possible. These are also the guys that made our internet and our TVs and everything that's in Lanes Raceway so nice. And they also got a fiber link ran for us here in Livermore, Kentucky from the utility so that we could have really good internet here. So we're thankful for those guys, and they're sponsoring the Four Crowns 2 for a total of 2,000 US American dollars to go into these racers for this series, and we're proud of that and thankful for that at the same time. Says Gold Dust, #1 fan. Hey there. Hello, Gold Dust. 2 minutes, 5 seconds. We'll be right back with you. All right, so right now T is going around. She's checking all the cars, making sure that they got stamps, checking, that's why it's paused here, folks, and checking to make sure that the stamps are on the motors and the chassis, and she is doing this as a random inspection to make sure that during the race, well, there ain't no swapping business, and then later on trying to swap it back. And this can happen randomly during out the race. So we'll see if she does it again before the race is over with. So the whole deal here is just to keep it as equal as possible. So we're making sure all that's taking place. And so far, I don't think she's caught anybody as per yet. So we'll see. If she does, she is supposed to inform me, and there will be a disqualification. As simple as that. So there shouldn't be anybody messing with anything. Everything should be on the up and up. I don't think we've had any issues here, but as a track owner, it kind of comes like this. You know, you get people to come in here, everybody's happy-go-lucky at first. Everybody's just racing, having a good time. And then you just start hearing the complaints and the comments of like, this is what you need to do to stop all this cheating and stop these people from being so fast and blah, 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 blah. So then, just like I said with the track call buttons, you know, it's a problem. How do we solve that problem? Well, I sit down with my brother and my dad, the two smartest people I know, and we have a powwow about it. And we come up with a plan, and then we just execute it. And if it works, it sticks. If it doesn't, then we get rid of it and we try something different the next series. But what we really want here at Lanes Raceway is that when the racers are coming to race, they have no worries that any of that's going to happen, and they're there to race. And then if they are having trouble, then they know it's them having trouble, and it has nothing to do with Lanes Raceway. And so in a perfect world, everybody's happy, but sometimes not. But this will all work out, and I think a little bit of time to take out just to make sure things are done correctly like that makes for a smoother race and a more competitive race. And at the end of it, you know, these guys can take that confidence knowing that, hey, when I win this race, I won it, you know. And I raced against everybody else on an equal playing ground. There is some differences in these motors. I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, all these motors are 100% the same. They are wound by machine after all. But the variances in between these motors is very, very good. Not like some of the motors that I had back in the day. So these stomp motors, you know, I see about a variance about 1 to 5% usually is what we see between these. And that's about it. T, are we good to go? All right, racers, line them up. Watch your lights. Here we go. We're going back green racing now. So T has checked everybody. She didn't come over here and tell me anything, so it looks like everybody's good and on the up and up, and it's going to be for some good racing here. Now she decides to do that yet again here. So we got a stalled car there on white. The car wasn't in, so that will be a strike. As we see a car there on black. That car on white needs to be brought to the front line too. It wasn't in. So white, black, and purple will receive strikes. White wasn't in the slot. So it's a strike. White, black, and purple are receiving strikes. 4 red lights dropping out to a green. Here we go. So see, that would be user error there, making sure that your car in the slot is your responsibility, not the track's. Therefore, that's why white was going to get a strike there instead of just getting slotted back in. Because the rules state this. If the track button's hit and there's a car out of the slot, it doesn't matter which car it is, they get a strike. So that would constitute that. And green lane's going to receive a strike. So keep your car in the slot. Stay in your lane, they call it. 4 red lights are dropping out to green. Here we go again. Right now, strikes for Guillermo Sire, strikes for Bo McPherson, strikes for Gunnar Vender, and strikes for Nathaniel Burton. Everybody else clear of strikes. As we get a nice little rotation here, we see that Gerald Whitaker is on the button, and he is track marshaling for this heat. But you can just see how close these cars are now that we've kind of locked this stuff down. We're seeing somewhat of a fanning effect take place from the, of course, the top lanes falling back to the bottom lanes. And test. All right. So I lost my microphone again. It timed out for some reason. But that's what you want to see. You want to see a fanning out where the top lanes are slower than the bottom lanes. As we get a strip gear here, we're probably going to see a button press here. And we hear that beep. That is a red flag condition. So yes, 120 seconds are live now, and we're going to see a gear either get tightened or we're going to see a gear get replaced here. But 30 seconds to get your car, 30 seconds to get a gear, 30 seconds to put it on. That should be enough time, and you can do this twice in a heat because nothing's worse than hearing somebody say, well, the only reason you beat me is because I had that strip gear that one time. Well, in this case, you got no excuse here. Um, you get it 2 times. If you can't keep your gear on in 2 times, well, that ain't the reason you lost. You lost because you didn't keep your gear on right. All right, just talking to some guys there real quick as they're going to reset the button now, and it'll be ready for the next guy if they have an issue with the gear. Jonathan 1985 House says, the only thing I don't like about the strikes is that if you go out early on a lane, you might as well not come back into the race because you'll never catch up. Jonathan, I will say this. Believe it or not, it happens more than you would think. Everybody wrecks out at least once during the whole race. It happens a lot, actually. Uh, so you're never out until the final heat. If you go back and watch the last race a little bit, which I think you caught some of it, we did see some of that action take place, and we actually seen a guy move all the way up from the back into the podium because of Gabriel Kirtley crashing out. So, I mean, it happens. It's just a good equalizer. You don't want to punish the guys for not being good, but you don't want to punish the guys that are good for bad racers. So if you don't set your cars up right, you're doing yourself a disservice, but you're also doing other people a disservice. And a lot of the times, that's why cars pop out a lot of times. You don't want to just continually give them more and more and more and more chances. Like in real racing, if it's big car, you get 2 cautions in this UMP modified series. You get 2 cautions, and then you got to take your car to the pits. Purple and yellow is going to take strikes there. So that'll be purple second and yellow second. And this is why I always tell the guys, if they wreck, they need to have their block with them. Oh, and red lane too, looks like it's going to take a strike there first. But they need to have their block with them because you never know. That little bump that you hit the wall, you may not have think that it bent that chassis, but most likely it did bend it. At my track, you get roughly 1 minute, but it's very flexible. My track is more like a club. Yeah, and we've tossed around the idea of a club here too. It's very hard to keep a business up and running, especially in this day and age. When you're talking about slot cars, these cars don't cost more than $80 and stuff like that. And once you buy one, you really don't need another one unless you're just, trying to help the track owner out or something like that, or you need it for multiple classes. You got a gear ratio here, a gear ratio there, and you just don't feel like swapping out gear ratios. So it's really tough to bring money into a track. We're blessed that my brother does own the building, and there is a little bit of leeway there. But if it ever came down to it that I couldn't, for what's that? Yes, it is. So that'd be three there for Purple Lane. Um, but if it ever come down to it that I couldn't make my bills uh, more than, let's say, 2 months in a row, then that question would definitely get brought up, whether or not we would just have club memberships and shut it down to the public. And at that point, we wouldn't stock a big bunch of stuff in our shop and everything. We would just make orders about once a month for the stuff that the guys want. And it would kind of be like it was when we were in the basement racing the orange track. Which we were kind of a club then. So after the 80s, when my dad had the Blue King track there in Livermore, Kentucky, that's kind of what we did. We ended up building that orange track as a family, and once it was done, we raced down in the basement for 20 something years, and we would just order parts off of PCH, and all of us would just get together. There was no cost. It was just come together, let's race. And that's the beauty about like having it in your house. But Nathaniel Burton there out in the lead right now, 170 laps, 158 for Guillermo, and Gabriel Kirtley there tied for second, 153 for third for for Glenn Burton, 151 for Gunnar Vender, 108 for Jeremiah, 98 for Jay Latham, 84 for Gerald Whitaker, and Bo McPherson 77. But yeah, this orange track here, my dad, mom, me, and my brother, we spent about 9 months and taking up the whole garage building this track. But we ended up building this track, and then we stuck it in the basement. As you can tell, it's not an original American Monarch orange. It is actually two pieces shorter than that. It's a 90 footer. So it's a little bit shorter than that. And the banking there, of course, is like at a 45 degree, where the Monarch Orange wasn't that steep. But we raced on that for 20 something years, and a lot of these guys that are in here right now, they were down in the basements with us, like Glenn Burden, Nathaniel Burden, Jay Latham, of course Randy, Gabriel. They were all in the basement with us. And Guillermo Sire too. We were under the moniker Western Kentucky Raceway because that's what Dad's track used to be called back in the 80s. Jonathan says that's how mine is ran, but local is still allowed. The owner don't do memberships, but his track is at his house though. Yeah, I mean, and that's great. There's a lot of people throughout the country that have tracks in their home. We got a guy here, Scott. He just bought his first track. He's got a figure eight at his home, and they race I think on Tuesday nights when we do our RC here. So, a lot of people do have home tracks, and they have some home followers and buddies that get together and do that kind of stuff. And, that's why slot cars made it since the 50s, the late 50s, is because, a lot of the places like what we got going on here, the actual business side of things, they come and they go because people just can't afford the rent. But then, the home tracks and stuff keep it going until another commercial track pops up and there's a place to go race series and stuff like that again, and then you see them kind of flock back to that. Now, of course, as you guys can kind of tell, we're trying to make a real big go of this. We want to do some more professional style racing, and you can check our Facebook page, or not our Facebook page currently, but you can check the Facebook page for the Flexi Challenge Series, as we'll be in the Flexi Challenge Series coming up in April. So they're going to be hosting that on our blue track, which is this track here, and it's the World's track from 2023. It's a clone of that. So we're definitely going to make a go of it, and so far the guys have been really good to us, and we do have memberships here. So a lot of these guys are not even paying technically to do this race. All four of these races are paid for through their membership. So and that helps the three strike rule a little bit too. It softens that blow. If you were paying the inflated price for the live stream races and not actually a member, it's a little bit more expensive to do that. But all of it together just goes back to communicative to get the money together so that we can do these big payouts. uh, and celebrate the guys having banquets and T-shirts and all this, and that's a way to supplement that and still at the same time uh, be able to hold multiple races and keep it fair. Nathaniel Burden still on the lead, 172. Gabriel Kirtley, 161. Glenn Burden, 156. Gunnar Vender, 155, 156. Jeremiah, 112. His first time here, already in the middle of the pack. That's pretty good. Jay Latham, 105. Gerald Whitaker, 90. And Bo McPherson, 85. Little glitch in the system there as we see some of the cars coming around here. So far, making it about 30 seconds into this 2-minute heat, and everybody's giving each other a little bit of room. As we see on the inside there, nice pass on blue lane underneath the orange lane. So Bo McPherson making a nice pass to Jeremiah. Jeremiah letting him go by, but we're going to see Jeremiah's car come off here, and he's going to receive a strike there on orange lane, his first. That's a little wonky line there. My mouse is getting a little far over to the left as Gabriel Kirtley comes around and grabs car 2. I want to see on purple lane, he's going to receive a strike. Four red lights are dropping out to green. Here we go. But the majority of people that are racing here today are members. Like Nathaniel's a member, Gabriel's a member, Gunnar's a member, Glenn's a member, Jay's a member. So Gerald, Bo, and Jeremiah are technically the only ones paying to run this race. Everybody else is it's implemented into their membership, and the membership's pretty good too. So anytime we're open, you can come in and have unlimited track time and stuff like that. And it usually equates to about $4 a day. So it's a pretty good deal, especially if you do a lot of racing. Orange lane's going to take another strike there. It'll be Jeremiah's second. But the it's monthly, so some people can afford it, some people can't. But like I say, if you're really a big hobbyist, you really love racing, you want to get into that, you definitely want to get a membership. It'll save you a killing. If you didn't have a membership, it would be right at $360 a month just to run the series races, and that's not counting track time. And our memberships are reasonable for the adults. It's $149, and our kids, it's even better. Kids under 18 is $75. So, the track does take somewhat of a hit, but it's guaranteed money coming in, and that's how we pay our bills and make this thing happen. And the funny thing is, how we get our rules here. This is the crazy thing. We have powwows, the racers do, and we come up with the rules before we start the series. So, all that stuff is pretty good. Yellow and blue going to receive strikes here. Yellow's first and blue's first. And I think the guys are very intelligent, especially how we've come up with some of these rules, all of us together. And to the point that we've gotten to where that we're at, we got a good little flow going here, and it does keep the tempers down a lot too with the flow that we got. Now I'm not saying that they don't always lose control, because sometimes they do. That's 2 for purple there, and I've seen it. But that's the passion of racing. If people never got upset, you got to kind of question sometimes if they're even alive or even that passionate about racing, because there's a lot on the line. I mean, not just necessarily your pride, but like if you built your car from the ground up and everything flows good and you get it out on the track and it just don't do like you want it to, it's kind of heart-wrenching, because you put all that work together. Nobody likes to go back and redo their work. That's how much it is at New York track, is $4. So I pay $8 a weekend because I only have 2 cars a weekend, 2 NASCAR hard bodies and a WOMP and an asphalt mod. All right, let's head over here to the strikes, clear those out. And TrackMate. We can see Nathaniel Burden here, 228 total laps, 214 for Gabriel Kirtley, 208 for Gunnar, 199 for Glenn, 158 for Guillermo, 152 for Jay Latham, 135 for Jeremiah, 129 for Bo, and 128 for Gerald. Going to take you back over here to the front screen here. Livermore, Kentucky, our sponsor here for the Four Crowns Group 20 Wing Car Series. 270-278-5999. Call and get you a Subway sandwich. Take a receipt here from Lanes Raceway. Get 10% off of your sub. And take their receipt. Bring it back over here. Get 10% off of a one item up to $100. Fairview IT Management Cup Series. Coming up, I think next, actually. I believe it's next. Yeah, because I think we're having the Rookie Series on the green coming up next. But Fairview IT Management Cup Series is going to be on the World Strike coming up next. And that is by our sponsor, Fairview IT Management. The reason you guys can see this live stream is because of them and all the hard work that they've done. And that was another thing. They did all that on the house for Lanes Raceway, so we are appreciative of that. So they even sponsored running all the cabling and stuff. Probably would have cost somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000 just to get that done. So we are very, very appreciative of that. And that just goes to show you how much the owner of Fairview IT loves him some slot car racing. See Jay Latham there wearing one of the hoodies that is provided by our members here. They pay in and we pay out. So that hoodie's actually, I believe, either an Adidas or a Nike hoodie, but it's got, of course, the Lanes Raceway Winter Series logo there on it. It looks like a car going up a big old mountain. It's got Lanes Raceway logos and stuff on that. Now, it's not engrammed with their names like the Four Crown shirts that they got from last year. That's the only series is the Four Crowns at the end of the year that we engrammed their names on. And where they stood in the Four Crowns and all four of the seasonal crowns. It'll show their points and what they could do in there. On Tuesdays, we do some RC racing here. We see a sprint car here being drove by none other than the famous Tim Hall. As we just painted this body the other day, and he's got this thing rolling here. He's been practicing all day long on the track. So we're going to head back over to the oval. 44 seconds, we'll be back green racing. Hey, T. Right. Wife's going to bring me a water real quick. I'm getting a little parched. Thank you, honey. All right, here we go. 4 red lights are going to drop out to green, and we're going back racing. Nathaniel Burden doing quite well in these past 2 races here. He is leading the way on this one, too. He's come a long way practicing keeping that car very close. We got a car come completely off dead man's corner there. Sounded like it hit the drag computer. Two cars involved in this incident. Looks like Jeremiah's one of them there. And looks like Guillermo's looking at another one. Bo McPherson rolling around the high banks there. So I'm hearing a button get pressed here, so we're probably under red flag condition here as we see white and red right now taking strikes. Somebody's going to need a gear or something that they're going to have to fix as something has gone awry after that wreck there. All right. 1 second, folks. All right, Guillermo was asking me about iteration. Now, this is an old rule here. Uh, Guillermo's asking me, can you offset the rear portion of the chassis? You can, but you cannot go outside of a quarter of an inch of the outer wall of the GRC chassis. Uh, Now, a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember who it was, but man, they had that thing offsetted. I kid you not. They had that thing offsetted at least an inch and a half. Now, of course, I made them take it back in and get that fixed, but you can do it up to a quarter of an inch. If you go any further than that, you're in somebody else's lane. Really, a quarter of an inch is a little too much too, but we allow it. We've allowed it since we've been open. Uh, but I don't really think it gives you an advantage like you would think. Orange and blue is going to receive strikes here right now. But that just kind of shows you. I mean, maybe they done that after the teching process. I don't know. But you try to stop a lot of the changes on these cars to make these guys just not touch their cars, and they try to find other ways to do stuff instead of just running their car and racing people. I'll never understand it. But anyways, they're always going to try something. So maybe we need to start checking the with a tape measure on the outside of the chassis now, so we're probably going to see a big bunch of people trying to offset the side of their car. Anyway, that's the troubles of owning a track, if you've ever done it. Trying to keep the peace and trying to keep people happy. So it's a tough situation sometimes. Nathaniel Burden there, currently in the lead, and that's funny. Nathaniel Burden is the one that they're talking about, having a little bit of an offset on his car. But Nathaniel's done quite well the past 3 weeks. He's practicing keeping his car on a lot more, and I think that's more to be attributed than whether or not he's got an eighth inch to a quarter of an inch offset on his rear tires. Because, like I said, this is a bank track; it's not flat, so I think it would hinder you more. Like going through the tri-oval portion of the track would upset that car a little bit, being that it's not exactly straight with the guide flag. But that's my own 2 cents. I've always found that the faster the cars are is whenever you make them flat and true is the best way to do it. 15 laps down, Gabriel Kirtley there on black lean. But at the end of the day, if a guy has an issue with it, so it would start with Gabriel with the claiming process, and you can claim a guy's car for the price of a car. You have to literally buy the dude a car, and you can claim it. But it goes one way. So the next week, if somebody wants to claim that car, Nathaniel can't claim it back, and neither can Gabriel keep somebody from claiming it, and it'll just go down the line, et cetera, so on and so forth. And that's kind of just like an even thing to keep people from really investing a tremendous amount of time into their cars, because these races are not meant for you to come up with some kind of Formula One spec car or something, and they're meant for you to race them pretty much how they are out of the box, and it's supposed to be boiling down to how good of a racer, how good you can keep your car on, not how you can tweak the chassis, add tungsten in the nose, just get ridiculous with it. I mean, I guess there is classes for that. Some of the flexi classes and stuff are kind of open like that, where you can put weight and stuff like that in them. But yeah, really, not something you really just want to do. But you just got to try to stop the guys when they get a little bit too aggressive. And you can notice it. 282, 10 laps up on Gabriel Kirtley is Nathaniel Burden in first place, 56.4, 54.4 is Gabriel Kirtley on average at 272. 262, Gunnar Vender for your top three, averaging 52.4. So Gunnar's coming back up in there with the guys. Jay Latham, 206 Guillermo, 199 Glenn, 184 Bo, 175 Jeremiah, and 174 Gerald Whitaker. Going to take you back over here to the Oval. You can watch these guys work. We'll be right back with you. All right, folks, Guillermo running back to his 5 seconds before we start the race. We're going to see 4 red lights dropping out to green. As he gets his card, he's running back to his spot. And here we go, folks. As we get a yellow flag here, let's see what's up. So it looks like Guillermo hit the track call button here. So Guillermo's getting a button press here, but we're going to see a strike on black and for Guillermo. Guillermo's having some issues here today. Not like Guillermo. Guillermo usually has a pretty solid car here, and a lot of good fast cars, to be honest. Some of the guys looking over here to the left-hand portion of your screen, looking at some of the fire starters made by my sister-in-law. And I'll tell you what, I almost just want to go over there and open every one of them boxes. They smell so good. It makes the place smell good. But I fight myself on it, and I keep the boxes closed because I want to keep the smell in. But if you like having little campfires and stuff like that out at your house, roast some weenies and do some s'mores, the little copper bowls and stuff that you can get and make fires with the fire logs, instead of using those quick start fire logs, call us up here at Lanes Raceway. We'll send you some of these fire starters, and I'll tell you what, man, they are nice. Do not put them in a wax warmer, though. They're not meant for that. So we are now round robin 6 of 9. Nathaniel Burden there, 286. He's 10 laps up on Gabriel Kirtley as we hear that beep of the button coming back and the end of that timer. So it'll need to be reset at the end of this heat. We can see a very close race indeed here as we get a flag called here. Now, we've had several people strike out here, so we're seeing a little bit of a change here. Our top 3 are definitely battling it out, but as we go lower than that, we're seeing a battle for the 4th position, as we're going to see White Lane here take a strike. And 4 red lights are going to drop out to green. Here we go. So made about 30 seconds for the strike. That's what we're kind of seeing is the median here, about 30 seconds. And then we're seeing our first wreck, and then it kind of smooths out. So there must be some sort of clumping that takes place that kind of throws one of the racers off just a hair bit. And we're seeing that take place now. One minute left in the heat. We're halfway through. 7 laps up is Nathaniel Burden on Gabriel Kirtley, and about 10 laps up is Gabriel on Gunner for the top 3 podium right now. And then it's about a 70 lap separation from 3rd to 4th, as we've had the rest of the guys probably set out at least a heat. So over half of the track is set out, it looks like. Oh, so we get a stalled car in the back, and it took a bit for people to hit the button as we had 3 or 4 cars come into contact here. Couldn't tell you who was the first one to have an incident there, but people are definitely going to want to take a look at their cars before they get them set in place here. And we're going to wait until all of them get set before we try to even think about putting strikes out here. But it looks like black and purple and white were the only ones to survive. Looks like everybody else has took strikes. So we'll go ahead and start here, I guess. Red and green, yellow. Red, green, yellow. Red, green, yellow, blue, and orange. Blue and orange. And that was a big wreck, folks. 23 seconds left on the heat. We got another big wreck right in dead man's corner as we see Brian Vender grabbing the cars here, bringing them around. Looks like 2 more. Thought it was more than that. Oh, looks like it is more than that. 2 more. Clearwater 123, where are we? We're in Livermore, Kentucky, 606 Hinton Street. Lanes Raceways, new location. blue and yellow taking strikes here. Looks like two other people might have came off. Maybe green possibly has came off. You'll have 3 if you came off just now. So it looks like green lane is going to have 3. I didn't see black lane. I didn't get black, I don't think. 20 seconds left to go. I can get it here in a second. Might not even matter. Well, black lane does come off again, so we're going to see black lane. Whoops. Where's our strike at? I'm going to need it. Looks like a lot of people coming off as we see white now with that strike, and we're going to see black, of course, with the 2. So everybody else that's off is pretty much indication that they got their 3 strikes. We're down to 5 cars now. And we are rotating. Nathaniel Burton's going to hang on to that lead. Gabriel Kirtley's going to still hang on to second position, but a brutal heat indeed, folks. Brutal heat. So let's take a look here at the track, mate. As we take a look at it, we see Nathaniel Burton out in the lead, 332 laps, 55.3 on average, 321 laps for Gabriel Kirtley, averaging 53.5, 314 for your top 3, and that's Gunner at 52.3 on average. From that point, we see a little bit of separation of people that's had to set out. Jay Latham, 269, 248 for Guillermo, 244 for Glenn, 233 for Bo, 218 for Gerald, and 175 for Jeremiah. Heading back over to the oval, let you guys watch these guys work, and we'll be right back with you shortly. What about you? I'm getting ready to go home. Are you? Did you get any of those cars worked out? Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit more. I'll tell you, Jason, he's got his tuned in, dude. I mean, him and Wes, they can just flat run, you know. Gabe's gotten good too at it. That's all right. Give me some competition. There we go. The race starts in 2 minutes. Hey T, what's the next race? NASCAR on blue. All right, about a minute and 40 seconds. Fairview IT Cup Series coming up next on the blue track. Let's take a look at that blue track. So there's the blue track. See Gabriel Kirtley, owner of Fairview IT, there just to the right of the screen there. And he is going to try his best to come out a little bit better than what he is currently right now in the oval track. But everybody knows that the oval is a mixed bag of tricks. Sometimes coming up making you the victor. Other times you run into every wreck possible. But that leads me into our sponsors for the Four Crowns. Livermore, Kentucky, 270-278-5999. Give them a call, get you a sub made, take a receipt from here, get 10% off. Take a receipt from there, get 10% off here up to one item of $100 or less. Group 20 Wing Car Series, what they sponsor. Fairview IT Cup Series coming up next. So that's sponsored by Fairview IT Management. They did all this beautiful computer work here at Lanes Raceway. That's the reason this stream comes in so good. It's because of them. And they built a nice computer for us with a 4090. They ran all the Cat 6 and everything. They did it on the house. That's how much they love slot car racing. So we are very appreciative of them. We're going to head back over to the ovals. We only got about 20 seconds left to go before we go back green racing. But the Fairview IT Cup Series, definitely a fast series. Now, that's a Champion Turbo Flex chassis from Mid-America, and it's running the Mustang bodies from Mid-America. But some of the guys have opted to get some of the really nice liveried out JPG bodies from Mid-America. And Guillermo Sire knows the guy from JPG personally. Grew up in his town, so they're both from Argentina, and they know each other. And I've actually had him contact him once or twice before to make some custom cars for the guys. But I'll tell you what, he's busy. Roger over at Mid-America definitely keeps him busy. We're going to see our first strike here, red, on the red lane here, first strike. So Jeremiah, for his first time out, not too bad at 176. Looks like he's going to be able to break that 200 mark. And if that's kind of how I judge it. If you can make 200 laps your first go, you're not bad. I mean, oh my, as we see a car fly tremendously up in the air. Good thing nobody was standing there. I would have put an eye out coming off the high banks there. Made it all the way over to the blue track. As we see two guys involved in an incident here. I mean, it was a flying car there. We're going to see two guys here. That'd be a good clippable moment there. If you guys seen that, clip that. That was crazy. I think got at least 8 foot of air. Definitely want to put the car on a block for sure. Make sure it ain't bent. So we see green going to take a strike here, and blue it looks like. We used to run the Fairview IT Cup Series on the oval, and the guys have opted to not do that because they're tired of tearing bodies up. And I'll tell you, when you run those cars on here and they're doing sub 1.7, 1.6 laps, it's just a little bit too fast to follow for sure. And then on top of it being too fast to follow, it's just when the cars get in contact, they're destroyed one hit. But at the very beginning, everybody wanted to make it out alive in that series. We called it the Blood Bowl or the Bloodbath. Orange lane's going to take a strike, and so is blue. Oh, looks like another one. Orange, blue, and yellow taking strikes. So that's blue's second. Everybody else is first. So Guillermo definitely going to have to dial her back a smidge or figure out what's up with that car. Guillermo not faring too well in the Hometown Hero this week. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might have had a win last week. Can't remember, though. I'll have to go back and check the stream. Speaking of that, if you like the stream, like, share, subscribe, and show other people that you're a big fan of slot car racing, whether it be home operated or commercial like what you're seeing here. Either way, slot car racing's fun. A good family pastime, too. I even have somewhere, I believe, up in our attic, one of the old Tycos with the loop-de-loops. Man, I miss being a kid. Green lane's going to take a strike. Now, that's green second. So, Glenn Burden now going to have to dial her back a smidgen. Minute and 13 seconds. That's a lot of racing left to go and a lot of clumping up taking place here as we see a car just randomly come out on the high banks there. That's abnormal. Usually we see this with a bent chassis, so one of the cars might be bent coming around there. Just get a little too much of the front nose where the wheels are touching. So that's going to be black and purple taking strikes. And that's their first strike. And it looks like purple was the car that had the issue there on so that'd be Gerald Whitaker. I'll see if he makes it a lap there. And it looks like he made it through that time successful. So it might have just caught the wheel on a spot that was kind of took a hit or something, hit it on a nodule or something. So we see a car fly to the high outside up in the trash lane we call red. Jeremiah missing it by about 16 car lengths or so, so not too bad. 7 laps is the separation between first and second right now. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, taking over that win. White Lane's going to receive a strike here, and it'll be their first. If I can make a smooth strike right there. With 52 seconds left, we're round robin 7 of 9. It looks like the only 2 cars that have not crashed out at least one heat is Gabriel and Gunner right now. And that's just off looks. I don't know for sure. We'd have to go and check after the break here, but we're at round robin 7-9 currently. And that's going to be a strike there for Black Lane. They're second. That's Jay's second. So he's going to have to dial it back for the next few seconds here in the heat. 27 laps. Stream's coming in pretty good. Only had 120 drop frames. That was at the very beginning. We did have all of our camera system just drop out earlier this week. Fairview IT, of course, going to get that fixed later on this week. So we're appreciative of that. But the cameras, as you can see, are still accessible through our live stream as they are staticked in, and they will not change. Now, that's Purple's second, so Gerald's going to have to dial her back. We got a lot of people on the two-strike teeter point here. And we get another yellow flag and a car rolling into Dead Man's Corner as we get a push through on red lane. Is red getting a strike? Okay. So red and purple. That'll be purple's third. See you, Tim. Thank you. So it looks like yellow, just from what I'm seeing, is caught in the dead strip, but it wasn't. It made it on through. So there's a red flag rotation. Gerald, the only one that's going to take a hit off of that. Let me go ahead and clear this out, and we'll take a look here at the track mate real quick. Gabriel Kirtley in first right now, 373, 363 Gunner Vender, 332 for Nathaniel Burden in third position. And I'll be right back with you guys just in one moment. All right, 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Let me get you guys back on something a little bit more interesting to look at. Thank you for our sponsors, Subway of Livermore and Fairview IT Management. You're going to be hearing me talk about these guys for the remainder of the Four Crowns, but we're very appreciative of them offering up $1,000 for the racers to win, and then of course Lanes Raceway matching that with track bucks. So we are definitely blessed and happy for that for these guys. But just a little bit of an announcement. So our 1RC stuff is coming in Tuesday. Our race is Tuesday. So if you want something out of that batch and you want to work on it and get it ready by Tuesday, I just talked to Tim, then give me a shout and I'll congregate you guys there. As soon as it comes in, I'll give you a shout and you can come and pick it up so you can get your stuff ready by Tuesday night to be able to come in and race. Because as soon as 5 o'clock hits here, 5:30 we start racing. So we're going to try to get the qualifying knocked out there at 5 and get into our first race by 5:30. And then after that first race, we're just going to bang them out as many as we can do. So a minute and 6 seconds and we'll be back racing with you. All right, well, stamping the motors with this little stamp not tending to be a very good choice. I might have to get me a little better stamp or something. So it's smearing, like my stamp has got messed up. There we go. I'm bringing it back to life now a little bit. Nonetheless, we're back in round robin 8 of 9. And Gabriel Kirtley now in the lead, followed by Nathaniel Burden, 339. Jay Latham in third, 328. Guillermo Sire, 313. We see Gunnar Bender there. He is going to be the track marshal for this heat. You can't really see him. He's hidden behind that pole there, but he is a youngster. So he's going to, of course, track marshal for this heat. We're already over a quarter of the way through this heat before even seeing our first wreck, so that was quite good. So we see Gunnar grabbing those cars. So black lane's going to take a strike here. And yellow. Black and yellow. That is a rap song from when I was a youngster. Ooh, and a hard hit to the high banks there. I think this is involving Bo McPherson as he was quick on the button there. Bo McPherson there, 303 total laps there on orange. I think he's going to get in the Rookie Series race here coming up. Well, our Rookie Series race works, guys. I know I haven't talked a lot about it, but we have it every single series, and you can win it once. You don't even have to be a rookie to get in it. We actually want good racers to get in it to help our rookies get good eye-hand coordination. White and blue. I'm going to take a strike here. And let's see what else we got. White, blue, and orange. All getting strikes. But our Rookie Series is this. You get in it. If you win it, then you can win it one time. Then you can never win it again. But we encourage you to always come back and run it when you get some spare time or you just don't want to get into the hustle and bustle of the Pro Series and help our rookies out, get a little bit better. But if you win it, we give you whatever we think you might need to advance yourself into the Pro Series. So the last time Brian Vender, he won it, which is Gunnar's dad. Is green getting a strike? Okay. Green and purple getting strikes here. So we got strikes all down the board. And he ended up getting a hootie as he had a box, he had a controller and all this. His son, of course, winning it, I think, the previous season. And he got a box built by Jay Latham. And that's about a $450 box. So, you know, the reason, you know, some people are going to say, well, your prices are too high, some of this stuff. You know, we do a lot of giving away here. And to do that requires us to get these prices up to a more heavier price. We're not seeing anybody want to come in here and sit on the bleachers and pay these guys to race. So the guys have to ante up if they want these nice give out prizes. And I've heard some of the guys say, you know, maybe we dial it down on the giveaways, you know, and maybe lower some of the prices. And, you know, I'm open for that kind of stuff. I know my brother, he's kind of open to it too. But you know, that would mean no more shirts, no more banquets, no more big cash prizes, no more big checks getting ordered, stuff like that. And I think it kind of takes away from it. I think those kind of things are quite fun. Some of the big checks, of course, hung up all over Lanes Raceway, big banners and stuff for specialty races and stuff like that too. So I don't want to see all that stuff go because I like to celebrate the racer. I'd love if our stream would pick up enough that we could start getting some advertisements and stuff placed on that for the guys, and then whatever kind of money that brings in, we just give it directly to the racers because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them anyway. So black, purple, and blue, oh, and yellow. Black, purple, blue, and yellow, the whole bottom four. And they're all going to have 2 strikes. So they really need to watch out for the next 11 seconds here. As we get a red flag rotation here, we'll check the strikes out. We're going to clear those out. And then we're going to take a look at the track mate. This time and one more is it, folks. So right now, Gabriel Kirtley in the lead, 424 laps to Nathaniel's 384, 374 for Jay Latham, 363 for Gunner, 360 for Guillermo, 347 for Glenn, 335 for Bo McPherson, Gerald Whitaker, 307, Jeremiah, 260. We're going to be heading into our final heat here. We see all the guys working on their cars. We'll be right back with you. All right, we're rolling into about 30 seconds for the final heat, round robin 9 of 9. Gabriel Kirtley out in the lead so far here, and we're going to see these cars left on the track after this 2 minutes, and we'll check for the final stamp check. And then after we do that, we'll move on in to our next race. Now, of course, we'll stop the live stream here so that we can keep all this stuff categorized and people can just check on the race they've been wanting to watch. Some people like oval racing, some people like the road course racing, some people like the flat track. So we like to keep it all separated. And 4 red lights are going to drop out to a green for this final heat. And we're already into a yellow flag. We're missing a track marshal. So we see what looks to be 2 cars there on the crook of the track, maybe incidented. We see Guillermo Sire there bringing the cars around. Now, of course, Guillermo is racing. Looks like Gabriel Kirtley is a little late getting to the track marshal position. So black, purple, and yellow are going to get strikes here. And he's currently the leader. We'll see if he can hang on to it. Some really smooth racing here with the racers here. We're seeing some nice let-offs here by Jeremiah, letting people go by on the straight stretch instead of the corner as he's learning to get his rhythm down here on the oval track. As we get a flag here, a little bit of side-to-side tussle taking place. as we get blue and orange pushed on through to let me know that they're not getting strikes. Now green is going to get a strike though, and that'll be their first. If you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe, and we appreciate that. And the racers really do too. They were really excited about the RC from last week. They couldn't believe how many views we got. I couldn't either. Kind of blew my mind. As we get a car get rear-ended there in the trash lane portion of the track. Two cars coming off. I see a strike there for white and red. So every lane except for orange right now has a strike with 1 minute and 22 seconds remaining in the heat, this final heat. And then I'll just leave the headset on. I'll go over there and do the checks live and let you know if their stamps are on the motor and on the chassis. If they are, they pass tech, they get their points. If not, they're disqualified. And that's just how it is, folks. They shouldn't smudge them or knock them off because they're in the inside of the car. So, and if I can see the remnants of it, they're good to go. And we change the colors up every week. So there's no way that they can get inside my mind and be like, I know this week he's going to use magenta. You know, I'm gonna randomize it. And plus, not only that, to get this file that we got to be able to shrink it this low, you have to have the actual SVG file that we have, or vector file. And of course, you guys can't get it; it's locked down. So, I mean, I'm sure if you tried hard enough, you could probably make it happen. But if you're going to that kind of trouble just to cheat, that's wild. It's just wild. All right, microphone, of course, shutting off yet again. 21 seconds left in the heat. Nathaniel Burden right now in the lead with 427 to Jay Latham's 419, 409 for Guillermo Sire at 409, Gunnar Vender at 403 on red, and we're going to see some more strikes take place here. Red, yellow, and green. Red, yellow, and green. So red, yellow, and green now on two strikes. So that is Gunnar, Gerald, and Nathaniel. Red, yellow, green, orange, blue. I missed orange and blue. Let me get orange and blue there too. Blue and orange. So blue now with two strikes too. 13 seconds left to go. And that's it, folks. That is a checker flag. Guys, leave your cars on the track. T will come and get them. All right, let's take a look here at the strikes. Clear those puppies out. And we're going to head over here to TrackMate. We'll see Nathaniel with 436, 428 for Jay Latham. Gabriel Kirtley, 424. That's your podium. Guillermo Sire right there on the edge with 419. 411 for Gunnar Vender. 402 for Glenn Burden. 382 for Bo. 348 for Gerald. And 305 for Jeremiah. Very, very close racing here, guys. I'm going to head over here to the oval. You can probably see me up in the upper left-hand portion of your screen as I do these checks for these cars. And we'll see if everybody's going to get points this week. So far, we ain't had anybody not get their points. It was a close call for Guillermo last week, but we changed the rules to lower the resistance levels. And we're going to see if all these guys pass or not. All right. So I'm going to start here with Jay Latham. Jay Latham does have his stamp. And he does have his stamp on the motor. So he has both stamps, motor and on the chassis. Oh, Bo. Okay. Bo, not Jay. I seen the orange and black, and Jay's an orange and black car, you know. So Bo's going to pass tech. Okay, just leave the cars here. We'll get them. All right. Now this one's Gunners, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we see the stamp in the center there, and we see the stamp on the motor. So Gunner's going to get his points. And of course, next week, what we'll end up doing, guys, is we'll just wipe these stamps off, and I'll put new stamps on it, different color. And we see a stamp on the motor, and we see a stamp on the chassis. Whose is this? Jeremiah's going to pass tech. All right, let's see here. This one here is Gerald Whitaker's. We see a stamp on the chassis, and we see a stamp on the motor. Gerald's going to pass tech. And this is Glenn Burden's. If I can get the sticker off here. There we go. Oh, there goes the tape. And we see a stamp on the chassis, and we see a stamp on the motor. Glenn's going to pass tech. We're going to see Guillermo Sire's car. We see a stamp on the chassis, and we do see a stamp on the motor. Guillermo Sire's going to pass check. It's just like on a real dirt race, see if you pass weight at the end of it. But at least we're not doing the motor checks like we did last time. So we got a stamp on the chassis for this time Jay Latham's Rum Runner. And we see a stamp on the motor. So Jay's going to pass tech. Coming up next, guys, we got the rookie race on the oval. And we got the Fairview IT Cup race on the blue track. The guys are going to bring those up for tech just as soon as they're ready. So now we got Nathaniel Burden, one of our front runners here. Got a stamp on the chassis and his stamp on the motor. Nathaniel's going to pass tech. Lenny was hoping that he failed tech. All right, and then we got finally here Gabriel Kirtley, the last one. Stamp on the chassis and a stamp on the motor. Gabriel Kirtley's going to pass check. So everybody passing check yet again in the Hometown Heroes class, and that's why you're seeing these beautiful, tight, close numbers in the series. Is we're really dialing it down, making it very, very close for these guys to not have a whole lot of wiggle room to cheat them up too much. Now they still have open inspiration, I guess, when it comes to messing around with certain things, but not messing with the powertrain. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in to the Hometown Heroes class on the oval. Now, coming up next, we're going to have like a double feature. We'll occasionally stop in and see how the rookies are doing. You won't see their lap times. I'll tell you them, as I can see the TV from here. But we're going to have the rookie race on the oval, and that'll be for points for the rookie series. And then we're going to have the Fairview IT Management Cup series on the blue track for points. And this will be the third race that they've got. So stay tuned for that. We're going to stop the stream here, and then we're going to come back and start on the blue track. I know you guys are excited about the blue track, but God bless you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Hometown Heroes race, and we'll see you in a few minutes on the blue track.